Actually, if you could just introduce what the Economic Resiliency Task Force is real quick and introduce Mr. Homeland, that would be wonderful.
I would love to. So my name is Eric Weir. I'm the city manager for the city of Crescent City. And obviously with the COVID-19 situation that we're in, the emergency situation that is the global pandemic that has a huge health emergency that has been declared locally by the city, by the county, by the state, but really the nation, has obviously impacted businesses a great deal. This impact is something businesses didn't see coming. Instantly, the revenues were basically stopped. And so with this disaster, it's different than most disasters that we deal with. It's not your tsunami, it's not your flood, it's not your fire. This is a health emergency that we all have to do our part right now. That's why we all should be wearing masks and whatnot when we go into the community. So the more we do on that front, the sooner we'll get through this. But what we also have is we have an economic disaster. Our local businesses, which are the heart and soul of every community, but especially ours in Crescent City, are really hurting right now. And there's a lot of information coming, their way through the state and federal government. There's programs that are supposedly rolled out, but those programs, they're not very well fleshed out. And two, just quite frankly, they're intimidating. How do you apply for it? How do you fill out that paperwork? How do you get your place in line? How do you even know how to do that? And so that's where in this EOC, which is the Emergency Operations Center, we actually set up this task force. And this task force is led by the group that you see here. Holly Went, we have Cindy Vosberg with the Chamber, Rob Holman, who's a business consultant for us. And this task force is just concentrated on just that. How do we help our businesses? How do we help our businesses through this time? And so there's some programs that are out there. There's a local loan fund that was put together through you have the different foundations. You have the Gil and Ann Hess Foundation. You have the Jane and Barry Bermiano Foundation, the South Fork Foundation. You have the Nick Rail Foundation and also the Caldwell Clan Foundation. All came together and contributed a total of $140,000. And that's a localized loan fund that's kind of being shepherded by this group through AEDC, which is the Arcata Economic Development Coalition. So those are some of the things that we're trying to do to help businesses at this point, which is just kind of bridge this gap. How do we get from where we're at now to understanding what the available funding is, and then applying and achieving some of those funding programs that are out there. So with this, we have Rob Homeland, who's Rob. If you want to raise your hand, Rob's with Malix Consulting. Holly Went we hired her as a recreation and events director for the city, which was really great and exciting. And we wanted to have concerts in the park, and we wanted to have great events, and all of these things. And obviously, that time is not right for that now. And so now she's leading us in this economic development resiliency charge. And then our great director over at the Chamber, we have Cindy Vosberg, who's just doing a fabulous job, doing everything she can to support businesses. So with that, I will turn it over to this great team.
Thank you, Eric.
All right, is that me, Holly?
That's you, Rob.
All right. Are we recording, Eric?
We are recording, yes. We're recording, and believe we should be live on YouTube, although I didn't see where that took hold. Let me see if I can get that to go again. Okay. And then I'll leave you guys.
And do I need to share screen, or do you issue that to me? There we go. I think I've got it.
There you go. I also want to let you know, Rob, that I've invited Layla to rejoin as a panelist if you want to bring her on later to talk about SBDC.
Super. All right, thanks everybody. My name is Rob Homeland, and I will introduce myself in a little bit of detail in just a moment. Holly, Cindy, and Layla, feel free to jump in and interrupt me anytime if you see something that you feel like needs to be said. So the name of this webinar is the Del Norte Business Info Webinar, SBA Paycheck Protection Program, but we're actually going to cover a lot more than just that. And we just had a word from the city manager. But I want to give you a little bit of background about myself, just so you know who I am and where I'm coming from. So I took this picture about an hour ago. This is in my backyard, and I just installed those 2 hammocks yesterday. So that's my 7- and 9-year-old sons' in our backyard doing their homeschooling, reading. So that is Max in the hammock up top in the treehouse we built, and Alex down bottom. And the name of my business is Malik's Consulting. So I just combined their two names. So just for everyone's information, I am a small business owner, and these two guys are why I do what I do. And so just for context, I live in Eureka, and I understand the challenges that small businesses are facing right now. So a little bit of gratitude to start with here. Gratitude to the city for its remarkable leadership. I'm working with a number of different communities throughout Northern California, and Del Norte County and the city of Crescent City are doing a remarkable job here, really ahead of a lot of other regions. Gratitude to the county for having such a good relationship with the city and coming together and leaning on each other. The Chamber of Commerce and Director Vosberg, Cindy, is just a remarkable asset to the community. And the Arcata Economic Development Commission, which has an unfortunate name. They work throughout the region. They were founded years ago in Arcata. So a number of foundations that I'm going to identify, but gratitude to them for creating a local program here. The North Coast Small Business Development Center, the Small Business Administration, and the federal government in general for creating some programs that we're going to go over in a moment. Also, gratitude to our healthcare workers in our communities and just the local business community in general, and restaurants and other businesses that are not or cannot currently operate. So just wanted to open up with some gratitude to all of those people. So this webinar series, we intend on, the objective here is to provide guidance and assistance to Del Norte County businesses. And we plan on holding this webinar or community chat every other Tuesday at 3:30, from 3:30 to 5. So again, 2 weeks from today, we would hold another one. And we are open to content suggestions. So contact Holly at Crescent City if you have ideas, if you're talking to other business owners and a topic that you feel like you could use help with. Let us know. We have a number of ideas, but we'd really like to hear from you on what we can do that would be the most helpful. So regarding today's specific webinar, what we're going to cover is the economic injury survey from Del Norte County for Del Norte County businesses. We're going to introduce 3 new business assistance programs, talk about some other resources and where you can get assistance, and then we'll do some question and answer. So on to that first one, the economic injury survey. Well, first of all, I wanted to assure you throughout all of these things, when we're talking about these loan programs and when we're talking about the survey, there are confidentiality agreements and all of this. And so all of your information is protected, and we have structures set up so that everyone's information is really safe and confidential, and only qualified individuals can access information. So part 1, we're going to talk about the economic injury survey. So it has some purposes. And so what we need to do is identify the greatest needs in the community so that we can find the most needed solutions. So this economic injury survey is being issued throughout the county, and it is a series of questions to business owners about the impacts of the current crisis. And these 3 reasons are really why the survey is being done. The second one is to prepare for future disaster relief funds. So the more information that we can collect and the more we can understand the impact that this has had on the business communities locally, the better we can do to apply for regional disaster funds, so county-wide disaster funds in the future. And then also to customize local assistance programs. As we're about to discuss, there's a local loan program, and a lot of it is being customized as we go based on the results of the survey. So here's how you can find the survey if you have not completed it yet. So the city's Instagram page, I encourage you to join that and follow them on Instagram if you use that medium. or the city's Facebook page, likewise with the county Facebook and Instagram. But I find that the easiest way to find the survey is actually at the city's website. So looking at the city's website, if you zoom in onto that center part there and click on that COVID-19 information for businesses, you will find this page, which is actually on the county website. You can also get to this through the county website, but I think the easiest channel, most direct, is straight through that city link I just showed you, which is on the front page of crescentcity.org. Did I get that right? Yep, crescentcity.org, center, click on that. You'll find this. If you scroll down just a little bit, you'll find this initial economic injury survey. And if you click on that, that will bring you to the survey. And so, you know, it's a series of questions. And to date, we have had 114 responses. So I'm going to show you some of the generalized information that we've collected so far, so you can see some of the types of information. Other answers I'm not going to show you because they're more sensitive. Right now, out of the 114 responses, this is your business currently open? So blue is yes, red is no, and orange is permanently closed because of the current crisis. Another question was, do you need help with navigating? And there's a series of options there. The most common answer is cash flow. So 61% of respondents indicated that what they need help with is cash flow. And it's important to point out here that while there's 114 respondents, only 82 responded to this particular question. So while we highly encourage you to respond to every question, you have the ability to skip questions if you feel like that's just something that you're not comfortable answering or if it doesn't apply to you. The next one was, do you need help applying for disaster loan relief? And about 50% were really not sure. 20% said they did, and 30% said that they didn't feel like that needed help at the moment. Could you benefit from a business advisor? Here are the results. Are you experiencing any equipment or supply disruptions? So the red is no. So fortunately, 64% of businesses are not experiencing any equipment or supply disruptions. And there's more detailed questions about this to get into the details of what the disruptions are, if any. So this is an important question for the community to understand what kind of supply or equipment disruptions are occurring so that the county and the city can react accordingly to assist to end those supply disruptions. Have you had to lay off employees because of COVID-19 pandemic? So here are the answers. So favorable results so far on that one. How many people did you employ prior? And then there's a question of how many people did you employ after? And the city will have the results of these at some point compiled. So I'm going through these relatively quickly, and I understand that you might want to see the details here, but the intent isn't really to go into the great details of the survey, but more or less show you just generally what's being collected so far. Critical costs that your business would be impact. So if subsidies were to become available, what would you need help with most? And so payroll and rent are up there at the top. Would you be willing to modify your business to help needs of the community? So this could be producing hand sanitizer or masks, or just a couple of examples there. But the majority of businesses look like they are definitely willing to modify their business if there's something they can do to be helpful. And so again, these are the purposes of that survey. It is really important that we get the results for the community so that the city and county can find the best ways to be helpful, and perhaps more importantly, to prepare for future disaster relief funds. The more that businesses reply to the survey, the better that the city and county can do in the future of acquiring disaster relief funds to bring into the community. And then finally, that the local assistance program that currently exists could become additional programs in the future. And so those could be customized based on the results of the survey.
Can I say something real quick about this, Rob?
Please do.
I just did a little deep dive last night into the survey results so far. in order, as the lead for the Economic Resiliency Task Force, to be able to advocate for you amazing business owners. And so far, we know that there's been over $1 million worth of lost revenue that you are feeling right now. And so the more information we get on this, we'll be putting out this survey every 2 weeks to get your current status of how you're doing and what's going on. The more information we get, the more we can advocate for you in our community, and the more we can justify the need for us to get consultants like Rob and other people to help us get funding for you and figure out how to serve your guys' needs, because we haven't really felt the impact of the health crisis of COVID-19. But what we are seeing is that we are feeling the economic impact of it already. And so that's really the important part of that economic injury survey. And I feel bad having to ask you guys to do this every 2 weeks, but it's our best tool to also help you. So just a little note, it's not just to make you fill out forms, it's just so we can help you better.
Thank you, Holly. And as Holly just indicated, this survey is going to be reissued every 2 weeks. So starting tomorrow morning, we're going to start it over again. And so those 114 respondents will go down to 0 tomorrow morning, and we will reissue the survey, and it's going to follow these webinars. So on Tuesdays every other week, we'll be doing these community discussions, and then the following morning, we'll reset the survey so that we can track changes. So even if you have filled out the survey, we encourage you to do it again tomorrow. Cindy, you have a thought?
I do. And so all of you businesses that are in this meeting, you touch other businesses. Over the last 2 weeks, we've been sending out, the chamber newsletter, the Facebook pages, the emails, radio ads, and, trying to reach out to get as many of you businesses to answer the survey as possible. And what you're going to see following regarding the loans that you're eligible for and the survey, if each of you were to talk to your peers in the business and make sure you get this information out to them to go online and fill out the survey and sign up for this stuff, you can also impact the community by helping the other businesses within your own circle and outside your circle.
Thank you, Cindy. So again, just as a refresher, the easiest way that I find to get to the survey is crescentcity.org. In the center, click on that link there. It'll bring you to this page. Scroll down a little bit and click on that button right there. Okay, part 2, overview of existing assistance programs. So there's 3 programs I'm going to go over, one in much greater detail than the others, and the one that I'm going to go on in detail is the local program. The 2 primary federal programs right now, there are more qualified people that can talk about those in detail, but I'll point you to the resources and generally introduce what they are. So the first one is the Del Norte Economic Resiliency Task Force, Small Business Stabilization Loans. So looking at this, I'm not sure why that animation's happening. Small businesses impacted by COVID-19 is the primary focus. This is Del Norte County businesses. Primary focus of this particular program. The application's already opened, and it's a very simple application process, which I'll show you in a moment. It also includes business support. So the city has wisely hired Chuck Wolf, who's a highly qualified, very competent business advisor, and the city's really lucky to have him. He's very detail-oriented, and he's a great asset to any businesses that apply through this program. A conversation with him, I think you will find to be helpful. And then the approval of the loan and disbursement is through the Arcata Economic Development Commission. So there's a total of $140,000. This is 0% interest and loans of up to $5,000 per business within weeks of approval, and we're shooting for faster than weeks. So if you're looking for more information about this, you can go to that website there, www.prepareddelnorte.com, COVID-19 business support. Perhaps easier to call that phone number, 707-951-3003, or you can email Holly Wendt at crescentcity.org, which is HWENDT @crescentcity.org. Oh, okay, so just to reiterate some information here, the funding for this program was provided by primarily the Hess Foundation, also from the South Fork Big Flat Fund, Baird and Jane Rumiano Fund, the Caldwell Clan Fund, and the Nick and Lisa Rail Fund. So immense gratitude to all of them for creating this local program. The purpose is to help small Del Norte County businesses with the impacts of COVID-19, and funds may be used to cover the day-to-day operating expenses of the business, such as payroll or rent, so broad flexibility there. Eligibility, business must have a demonstrated hardship. It is for-profit, independently owned businesses, businesses with fewer than 5 employees. There must be a physical establishment within the County of Del Norte. If you're in city limits, then you have to have a current city business license. And if you're not in city limits, but in Del Norte County, then that doesn't apply. And you must be in operation as of March 1st, 2020 or prior. If you're in city limits, then you have to comply with the city's non-discrimination policy. And you must be in good standing with the City of Crescent City and the County of Del Norte as of February 1st. So that means current on utility bills, no liens or judgments, no code enforcement violations, things like that. And if you have those sorts of problems, I encourage you to call and discuss with Holly or others and have a conversation with them. So just to reiterate the program details here, it's a loan of up to $5,000, a payback period of up to 3 years with no interest, and the funds can be used to cover day-to-day operating expenses. So the process is really quite simple for this. So you have to complete a loan application program. If you're in the city limits, then you have to provide a copy of your business license and a completed and signed W-9 form. Here's the general process of how this application works, and this may be a little bit more detailed than you need, but you would complete the business or complete the application, the signed application to the city. And if you have questions about the application, which is probably unlikely because they're very simple form, you can call the city with questions, call Holly. Then an independent third-party business advisor, who's Chuck Wolf, will conduct a phone interview with you, including direction regarding other programs. So this is also really useful. So the other programs that I'm going to explain in a moment, Chuck can have more detailed answers. And so he can kind of give you more background on those other programs and point you in the right direction. So just that interview alone could be of value. Then he will provide a summary of the application and the interview and submit that summary to the Arcata Economic Development Commission, who will then make a funding decision. And if approved, AEDC executes the agreement and disperses the funds. If denied, then AEDC will send you a letter with a reference to the Small Business Development Center for assistance. And as you'll see in a moment, I encourage all of you to go straight to the SBDC, become a client if you're not already, and get some counseling from the SBDC long before that stage, if that's the stage that you would end up. Even if you end up being approved for the loan, it's still a good idea to communicate with the Small Business Development Center. They have a lot of resources. So the other programs that I'm going to be talking about are from the Small Business Administration. And so if you go to the SBA.gov website, really simple website, SBA.gov, it'll bring you to this page here. And click on Learn More about Small Business Guidance and Loan Resources. It's right at the top of their web page. It'll bring you to this page here. And if you click on the coronavirus funding options, which is the link down there, it'll bring you to this. And so these are the 4 programs that the SBA has information on. And let's start with this, the one that's called the EIDL Loan Advance first. So this provides up to $10,000 of economic relief to businesses that are currently experiencing temporary difficulties. There's actually a lot more to this program. So you'll hear people say the term EIDL. So that is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, EIDL. So that's the EIDL program. You can begin applying April 10th for independent contractors and self-employed individuals. That is how you can find the loan application, but it's easier just to go to sba.gov, and there's really clear path of links to click on. I already did that one. There's no deadline currently established. This is provided by the SBA through the Federal CARES Act. And there's also within the program loans of up to $2 million with a payback period of 30 years and an APR of 3.75%. That initial $10,000, however, is something I encourage all of you to look into. And the advice that we're getting is that everyone should really look at applying for this, even if you're not sure that you want ultimately to go through a loan process. Beginning the application is highly recommended.
We just had a little comment from Layla, who's awesome. She's a panelist from North Coast SBDC, and she just wants to make sure that we add that the EIDL deadline is December 31st of 2020. Layla, do you want to say anything about that real quick?
Nope, no need. I think that is just a little detail to add.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Layla. And I'm not afraid at all to admit that these programs are changing pretty rapidly. And so when I created that slide yesterday, as far as I knew yesterday, there wasn't a deadline. And so these things are changing quickly. And so one of the reasons that we want to create this webinar series is to update people as things change. But even in a 2-week period, a lot could change. And so I encourage you to stay in touch with the City Chamber of Commerce or the SBDC in order to stay up to speed on how these programs are changing.
And if you're not already signed up for North Coast SBDC's email updates and newsletters, that would be great too. Right now, information is key. So thanks, Rob. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Holly. Some people have already applied for the EIDL program. And if you applied prior to March 29th, but you do not have an SBA loan number, then you do need to reapply. So some people are kind of in a waiting pattern, and you really need to make sure that you get an SBA loan number. And if that's not clear to you, you could call the SBDC or the city or the chamber to find out more guidance on how to figure that out. So the other program that I'm going to talk about from the SBA is the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP. Provides a loan forgiveness for retaining employees by temporarily expanding traditional SBA 7A loan program. So also known as PPP, there's the loan application link, easier to find it just through SBA and what I just showed you, that path. It's a loan designed to provide a direct incentive for small businesses to keep their workers on the payroll. I don't feel qualified to go into this in great detail at the moment, but from what I'm understanding, if a business has laid off employees, you can actually rehire them for this program. And so that's something that you should consider if you've already had to do layoffs, or if you feel like you're going to need to do layoffs and you want to avoid that. That's what this program is designed for. SBA will forgive loans if all employees are kept on the payroll for 8 weeks and the money is used for payroll, rent, mortgage, interest, or utilities. The challenge so far of this program is that loans are provided through private lending institutions, and to date, pre-existing lending relationships seems to be a prerequisite with an SBA 7A lender. So if you have not received a loan through a bank that is an 7A lender, it seems like there are challenges in getting this program. Doesn't mean that it won't be possible, but it seems to be the primary challenge to date. Layla, anything to add to that? Or correct?
I'll only add that if anyone on this call either has applied or has tried to apply for the Paycheck Protection Program, one of the things you will notice is if you were an existing customer, you may have been able to get all the way through the process, and congratulations. You may even be getting your approvals pretty soon. I'm already starting to see those come through. Many of us, however, have been stopped in that process at some point. we're going to be sending out a survey to keep track of the gap, because we are determined to make sure that our clients who need access to the Paycheck Protection Loan programs to keep folks on payroll have some option one way or another. And we do have lending partners who are really concerned about the small businesses, the micro businesses, and self-employed people right along with us. So I can tell you that, AEDC, which serves a 7-county region, including Del Norte, is interested in figuring out how to accept more applications for this program. And I know that if you are a customer of Coast Central Credit Union, they want to hear from you, because they have put in their request. They did this last week for the Small Business Administration to make them one of the approved lenders for this Paycheck Protection Program. And we are helping them to push that request on up the line so that they get attention and faster turnaround and can actually start accepting client applications. Other banks within Crescent City and Del Norte, US Bank, Tri-Counties, Umpqua, etc., are at this point kind of blocked. They've reached their max, and we are keeping a close eye. Keep a close eye with us. In committee in Congress is another possibly $200 million in loan guarantees. We hope it gets approved so that more money gets freed up to back up the payroll expenses of the small businesses who weren't able to get a yes fast enough. And I'm saying all of this mostly because we have gotten a flood of concerned messages, panicked calls. And so just know that we're paying attention, all of us collectively on this call, and we're on it. And we are raising this both with people who have capital to loosen up to help us, as well as with elected officials in Washington, D.C. and in Sacramento. Thanks, Rob.
Layla is on the task force for economic resiliency, and I'll let you know there are a lot of key community members really pushing for this to be accessible for you business owners locally. We talk about this on a daily basis and are trying to figure out ways to make this happen. So stay in contact with us, keep getting our emails, open them. We don't know when we'll be able to make this happen, if and when, but definitely check your emails if they're coming from SBDC, the chamber, or myself, because once we do, we want you guys in on that. So.
All right, let's see if I can go back. Oh, wow, way down here. Okay, so that is the two programs from the SBA. I'll jump in right there. There are two other programs listed on their website. So you've got SBA Express Bridge Loans and SBA Debt Relief. So I encourage you to do some research on those or talk to an SBDC advisor about them. And then finally, other resources. So this is pretty basic, but the Small Business Development Center is really the best local resource to point you in the right direction regarding all of these programs. With the exception of the local program, the city is probably your best bet. So if you have questions or interest in the local program, call Holly at the city. Chamber of Commerce is also working really hard to reach out to businesses and to get a pulse on what's going on, to connect with businesses, connect businesses to the survey and these other programs. Cindy, you have anything you'd like to say?
I would just like to say, if you haven't heard from us, please reach out to us. We have somebody staffed at the chamber office from 8:15 a.m. until 4 o'clock each day answering phones. I will tell you my cell phone number is 541-251-0591. You can call me or text me anytime. My email is director@delnorte.org. And I just want to say once more, reach out to your peers across the business lines and let them know about the stabilization loan It's a once in a lifetime opportunity with a 0% interest rate that can help get you from where we are right now until things turn around with the $5,000 maximum. And remember, there's basically 3 loans that you're eligible for that we know about that are that we're talking about, and those are the 3 loans that Rob talked about.
Thank you, Cindy. The Workforce Center, Holly, you want to just mention them? Any details on them?
Yeah, Christy Hernandez is amazing as the Workforce Center. So if you're having to lay employees off, or if something's going on that you don't understand how to navigate, she is a wonderful resource and very supportive on that end as well. I just can't emphasize enough, don't feel alone in any of this. Reach out. Any of these people on this webinar right now, any of these people we're talking about are more than willing to help you, because one thing that we know for certain after these last couple of weeks is that you guys need help and support. And so without any judgment or any feelings, we are there to help you get through this. So please reach out, and just, even if it's a silly question. I've been helping businesses, they can't get a hold of public health or someone over at the county to know about how to stay open or what to do. And they call me, and I'll shake the tree and figure out who to get in touch with, and then get the information for them. So it kind of doesn't matter what the question is. If you're a business person and you have something, just ask one of us and we'll try and help you figure it out.
Thank you, Holly. Okay. All right, and another resource is Holly, obviously. So don't hesitate to contact Holly. She is the county's designated economic branch or the leader of the economic branch for the Office of Emergency Services throughout this process. And if you have not already done so, I encourage you to go to the North Coast Small Business Development Center website. They have a number of webinars that have useful information, including recorded past webinars and a daily email that is full of useful information. So with that, Holly, it looks like there are at least 10 questions queued up in the comment section there. And we will go to question and answer.
Let's see. Anybody have a question in there? There was some chat, but I think we talked about some of that stuff. So as far as business owners, do you guys have any questions that you have? You can either raise your hand and ask it, or you can type it in the chat.
So I see the first question here is, after applying for an EIDL loan, economic injury disaster loan, how long should we wait to hear something? It's been 2 business days and 4 calendar days. We have been hearing that there are some folks who applied as far away as March 30th and April 1st who haven't heard back yet either. So they're working hard and fast, and also staffing up at the SBA, as I understand it, but their turnaround is obviously by necessity slower than usual. What we do know for sure, based on yesterday afternoon's report back to us from the Small Business Administration, is that it is taking 3 to 4 weeks to receive an approval for an economic injury disaster loan application. And it's taking 2 to 3 weeks to receive the up to $10,000 advance for those people who have requested it.
We have another one here. It says, we are having trouble digitally applying for PPP loan. How can we get help doing that?
Good question. Okay, so I have a 2-part answer for that one. This is the Paycheck Protection Program loan that is part of the CARES Act that was passed about 10 days ago. What this means is this loan program is being handled by individual banks, credit unions, and other lending institutions. They are using a standardized application form, and I'm more than happy to put in this chat box a link to the very latest updated PDF application form. It's a pretty simple 2-pager. What we're recommending folks to is complete that. And if you are trying to digitally apply for the Paycheck Protection Program online, you're doing it with your local lender. And so it's your local lender that you're going to have to ask for technical assistance on that. That said, if you are unable to complete the application or if you're blocked from doing it, I encourage you to come to the Small Business Development Center, because we are keeping a beady little eye on every lender that is, as soon as they tell us that they're accepting loans or accepting loan applications again for those who had who reached their max. We are planning to let people know about that so they can get in the queue again. Hope that's helpful.
All right.
And I'll find that application form now.
Anybody else? There's not a question that is not reasonable right now. If you have any questions. I do want to let you guys know we do have a lot of the 140,000 for the local loans available still. I'm surprised that we don't have more businesses applying for that. And so that was one of the reasons why we wanted to have this webinar, is to encourage our local businesses to jump on that opportunity, because we can ensure that one. We know we have that 140,000 just for you guys, just for Del Norte County. And then, you know, if we run out of that, we'll go looking for more. And that economic injury survey is going to tell us like what we need to do. And it's really good proof to people in the community that we need to put some more investment into helping you guys. So
Jan, I see that you're on here from Klamath. So one of the things that you can do to help your fellow Klamath businesses is you know, you pulled together a small group of people and brought me down, and I spoke with you guys about some things that to help promote Klamath. Talk with Aaron and talk with Sharon and with Susan about these opportunities. Brenda, I see you're on here from Klamath as well. You know, we feel strongly that it's so important that we keep Klamath strong, and that we keep a place for you guys to have to go to buy groceries. You know, so talk with Sharon about it. I've reached out to her and have spoke with her, but I don't see her on this call. The other thing is, if we have folks from Hayuchi, I think there's someone here from Hayuchi, and we have anybody from Gasky and from Smith River. It's not just for Crescent City, but it's for our entire county. And we're here to work for all of you and help you and all of us get through this crisis. And we will. We know we will, because, you know, we got this, Del Norte, right? But reach out to those other businesses. And do you guys like this format of us meeting every couple weeks and talking with you? And you can respond in the comments box or email Holly or myself afterwards. We hope you do, because we think this is very effective, although it's new for all of us.
we had somebody raise their hand, say yes. It also looks like we have another question. If a business is interested in a PPP loan and EIDL, can you lump in all into EIDL and ask to forgive a portion when appropriate?
So the short answer to that is a multi-parter. So bear with me. For those of you who are not following the acronyms, I'm gonna keep speaking out exactly what we're talking about here. So the Small Business Administration's EIDL, Economic Injury Disaster Loan, which is being handled directly by the SBA, is that 30-year 3.75% APR loan that's intended to cover operating expenses. And our recommendation is that you apply for that no matter what. However, If you are also planning to apply for the PPP, which is the Paycheck Protection Program loan that's being handled by individual banks, credit unions, and other lenders, then you need to know that you cannot use the money the same way from both loan programs. So a perfect example is someone went ahead and applied for the EIDL from the SBA, Economic Injury Disaster Loan. And then later on, once it came open, they applied for the Paycheck Protection Program loan. What the expectation is they're going to be asked to use the Paycheck Protection loan to refinance whatever part of the EIDL, the SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loan, applies to payroll expenses. So no matter what, you'll be covered for what you asked for if it has all been approved. You just won't be able to pay for the same kind of expense using both buckets. I hope that's what you were asking.
And Layla, if I can provide maybe an addition onto that, or maybe just kind of repeating what you're saying, you're more or less saying that you cannot double dip with it. So if you use EIDL for one purpose, you cannot also use PPP for the exact same purpose. Is that true?
That is correct.
Okay.
And there's so much more detail that I'm not adding on to because I don't want to confuse folks. But this is a perfect opportunity to bug your business advisor about this at the SBDC.
I think that's kind of the point of us coming together. Those of us on this task force trying to figure this out to help you guys are very clear that it's got to be overwhelming for you trying to navigate this yourself. So really coming together, doing this webinar and trying to get information out is linking you to supports like North Coast SBDC with Layla Roberts' team. And then if you go through the local loan program with Chuck Wolf, who is working with us there as well, so that you have some options. And just to ask for help and see what we can get you, what information we can get you as well. Let's see, any other questions?
So the SBDC, Layla Roberts and her team are doing such a wonderful job that I went ahead and sent over to her the entire list of the chamber news emails, which is over 900 of them, the email blasts, because every day, her daily emails are so valuable for our small business community that I felt it was more critical for our business community to get her emails than anything else. You know, I figured that the chamber members could always opt out, but by me not getting that out to them, it would be a disservice as your chamber director not to give her those emails. So you should all be getting those emails from Layla.
Trying not to make them daily because people were finding that overwhelming, by the way.
They're so valuable.
Someone's asking for a reminder of what the local loan program is called again, and I'm going to put a link to the Prepare Del Norte website where the information about that program is listed.
It looks like there's another question. If the business has only been minorly affected so far, but anticipates that if this continues for an extended period of time, they're likely to be impacted in the coming months, should they apply now?
Sammy, if you've got people on payroll and you are intending to keep them on payroll and keep them employed if you possibly can, then getting a forgivable loan through the Paycheck Protection Program is a reasonable option for you. I would say also discuss that with your accountant or with your SBDC business advisor, who can look with you at your finances and make sure that's the right answer for your specific business. But there are businesses that are anticipating that they're going to need to protect their ability to keep folks on payroll over the long term. And so they're asking for help now rather than waiting. The second thing is you do have until December 31st to apply for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. So you could apply now, you could wait. In fact, there are some folks who are waiting 30 or 60, 90 days to do a little credit cleanup so they have the best possible chance of getting a yes and of establishing themselves as a good bet. So if you choose to wait on that, that's okay. But it's the Paycheck Protection Program is a good one. And I would definitely say if you are having cash flow issues and anyone on this call is worried about making it from 1 month to the next, or from now until May or June, the opportunity being provided by the Del Norte, the Prepared Del Norte Fund, is extraordinary, and they do want more applicants.
Layla, reel me in if you feel like this is a bad thing to say, but I would encourage people to apply now. And you know, if you go through the process, the application process, and then ultimately decide that you don't want it, you don't have to accept the approval when you get to the end of the process. But the process could take a while. So if someone's on the fence about whether or not to apply, I would think it'd be a good idea to apply.
The Small Business Administration does allow you to update your file. So if you give them your previous year's financials as part of this, and then you give them your current financial status, and there's not a huge delta, not a huge difference yet. If in a month you find that's quite a big difference then in lost revenue, I would suggest updating the SBA, and you also can appeal if they give you an answer that you don't want.
And then you're in the queue if you did it that way.
I'm sorry, Rob, I missed the first part of your question.
If you did it that way, where you applied now and then updated later, you would be in the queue and likely have a more rapid response when you updated your application, or is that at least a possibility?
I would call that great use of logic, but possibly wishful thinking.
Okay.
One other question is, someone doesn't have payroll, but mortgage expenses that they're concerned about. So that probably won't be the PPP program, but what program do you think would be a better fit for that one, Layla?
So one place to start might be with the mortgage holder, with your lender, because a number of lenders are accommodating requests for deferred payments. The tricky part about that is then all of a sudden they come due at the end of the deferral period. So that's something to pay close attention to. And then certainly the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program does cover the full range of operating expenses, including mortgage, as does the Prepare Del Norte Business Stabilization Fund.
Layla, so if someone that has no payroll but a business mortgage is likely to be sole proprietor or self-employed. So can the PPP work for people that don't have employees and therefore don't have payroll?
Yes, thank you for pointing that out. I am holding my tongue on how that's going to look, but starting on April 10th, this Friday, sole proprietors, self-employed individuals, and even independent contractors are also, so they say, going to have access to loan applications through the Paycheck Protection Program. How that looks depends, I think, on your 1099 and or how you establish how you pay yourself on tax filings, etc. So that is where we really get into weeds that we have not received clear instruction on from the standard operating procedure for this program. And I'm holding off on trying to guide people too closely on that, even though there are some people who are already preparing their applications.
And that's kind of the truth about what's going on. As we know, you watch the news, you get these announcements. Oh, yay, all this money's coming down the pike from the federal government. And then keeping an eye on it and figuring out how to help businesses, local small businesses, navigate this and have access to that funding. That's really what we're trying to work on to help you guys with. That's really the focus of all of us, and we have a great team to help you with that. We don't have any more questions, but I would love a little feedback from you guys regarding what are you interested in an upcoming webinar? What is something that you're concerned or worried about that we might be able to dive deep into and get some information for you or support you in? Anybody?
I wonder if there are some people who are participating by phone who aren't able to chat into the Q&A box. Do you think it would make sense to unmute some of the 19 participants so they can maybe vocalize it, even if it's a bit chaotic?
Here.
While you're working on that, there's a question about what type of marketing will there be for local tourist businesses?
I think that's perfect for my ally, right? So once we get the all clear that the CDC says it's safe to travel again, the Visitor Bureau has a campaign that will start in. You know, we've got a couple different things going on. One is the normal marketing that we do as your Visitor Bureau, which is handled through the Chamber office. The other thing that we have going on, and this is something that Rob is very involved in, as well as Layla, is our Go for the Gold for the Summer Olympics. So we know the Summer Olympics is not going to happen this year in 2020, but they're planning on doing it next year on the same dates for 2021. And we have a whole scope of work that Rob has helped us put together with different firms and different talents that will be driving tourism here to Del Norte County. So once we get the all clear that people can travel again, we'll be working through Visit California. We'll be working through Lynette Braylard with Lulish Design out of Bend, Oregon. We'll be working through the normal channels that the Visitor Bureau works through, as well as the Chamber, to drive those tours here again. You know, it's interesting. We've got the Sea Cruise, which is going to be in October and always brings quite a few thousand people to Del Norte County. But we also have the 4th of July, which is going to be in July. And at this point, I'm not 100% sure that we're going to be all clear by the 4th of July. But if we don't, we're going to plan that we are, but we're going to prepare. We're going to plan for the best, but prepare for the worst. If by chance we can't do 4th of July, then we'll do something else. And maybe it's Labor Day. Maybe we have whatever date is that Labor Day falls on. Maybe it's September 9th or September 4th. And that we have a big event in Crescent City to bring the crowds in when we can, whether it's 4th of July or it's in September. So.
And if I can add to that, Cindy, this is total speculation, but I think it's safe to assume that local travel restrictions will be lifted before international flights are open. And so it could be an opportunity for the North Coast region to draw people from the surrounding region, you know, Portland to Redding to San Francisco and a radius around Crescent City and Del Norte County. People that are stir crazy and looking to get outside and to breathe some fresh air and to see the ocean. And so it could be a good opportunity for Del Norte County to begin advertising when local travel restrictions are lifted.
So the other thing is that part of the Chamber of Commerce and the Del Norte County Visitor Bureau is that we're part of the North Coast Tourism Council, and that consists of Del Norte County, Lake County, Mendocino County, and Humboldt. And as a group, our 4 counties, we put together resources and we promote jointly, and we get grants from Visit California. And so we've put a halt on all of the marketing that we would be doing right now for the coming summer, so that once things open up, we can hit it hard as a group. And that is promoting all of Northern California.
I'll tell you, I have a ton of friends and family. I've lived on the East Coast and in the Bay Area before I moved back home. And I'll tell you what, everyone, as soon as this is over, wants to come up here and visit. The more beautiful pictures we're posting, the more people are saying how much they love it here and how grateful we all are to be here, the more everyone else on my Facebook or Instagram, they're just like, we can't wait to come visit you and see that and get away from what they're living with right now. So I think the more positive we can be on that, and the more we can highlight how beautiful and amazing our area is, that's also going to help us get the tourists to come back in.
You know, it's interesting. We just got this week another report from Visit California. The Chamber handles the vacation package requests from travelers from all over the world, but mostly the United States domestic travel, but our request for the vacation travel packages has not stopped. So just this week, we got another report in with another 87 people that are requesting that they want to come here this coming summer. So people, like you say, Holly, are going to be hungry for travel for sure.
Right.
And if you guys, those of you who are here, if you have ideas or suggestions, reach out to me. I'm always willing to listen and collaborate and brainstorm and come up with new ideas. So what I would love to see is once we get past this is a local promotion that's similar to what Gold Beach does with their Japanese floats, that we have a contest of some sort that brings people here, and maybe it's some type of a scavenger hunt where, we could seed the beach with starfish or sand dollars and have people go out and find them and bring them to local businesses and get rewards for them. So there's a lot of ideas going around. That's the good stuff to talk about, right?
And if any of you are really feeling strongly about this, and once you get over the overwhelm of the situation you're in, you want to ask questions, see how you can support, have any input for us, really just reach out and let us know, right? We're here to support you guys, and if you want to share your ideas more privately with us, you can call Cindy or I. We're here. And let's see if there's anything else. If anyone wants to talk and can't do chat, you can raise your hand real quick. We'll give it another second. I know some people have already said that they've had to go and they're very grateful and thankful for the information. We're so glad people could join us today and that this format worked for some of you. All right.
So I've seen a lot of thank yous to us for our time. I want to thank all of you for your time. It's been, with all of us working from home, as you can tell by all of our backgrounds, right? It's wonderful to have some interaction with you guys as a group. So thank you very much for being here.
All right.
Are we good?
I think that's good, unless anyone has anything. Bye, Jan. Bye, Lonnie.
We'll see you hopefully in 2 weeks, right?
And check out the survey tomorrow for the
Yes.
bi-weekly survey, you guys. Thank you so much, Rob. Thank you so much, Layla, for being here and supporting this conversation. It's nice to have a special little get-together for our local businesses. We really appreciate it.
This county has incredible leadership and incredible, hardy, determined business owners. We're seeing that in all of our conversations. So thank you.
So Jennifer, I see your question. It looks like there was 21 people that were in here.
Great.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
That's all.